5, 4, 3, 2.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 30th anniversary of the Sedona International Film Festival. I'm your host, Carol Kahn, and we'd like to thank our presenting sponsor, Northern Arizona Healthcare, along with our hoteliers, restaurateurs, and all of our volunteers who support the film festival year after year. We are so appreciative of your support. And just like Patrick Schweiss says, this is a filmmakers film festival every single year. I'd like to present you once again Peter and Josh. And what is your film?
Man Goes on Rant.
Man Goes on Rant. So yesterday Peter was here. We talked about Chicago and Chicago Live. I don't know if any of you saw it last night, but I heard it was amazing.
Unbelievable.
Yes.
One of the best experiences of my life.
And it was a world premiere of
Yes.
that film, right?
Specifically for this film festival, yes.
Awesome. So you can catch our interview on Facebook Live if you'd like to see that. But now we're diverting and talking about the other film that you've presented here. So talk to us a little bit about that.
It's a passion project that we made back in Texas last year, and the best way I could describe it is it's about a man who is trying to understand why a relationship failed, a long relationship, by looking at U.S. history that was concurrently happening. So it's a very interesting, kind of unique way of looking at, like a relationship drama, is that the character will maybe be thinking about an argument he had 10 years ago, but then he'll think, well, what was happening at the same time in U.S. history? And kind of cuts in between archival footage of that with footage of him having, marital problems or whatever.
And Josh, you were the cinematographer for this?
I actually was not.
Okay.
I wore a lot of hats.
Okay.
It's a good way of putting it.
Kevin Schlancer,
Yes.
I believe is how you pronounce his name, was a cinematographer.
Okay.
I was second camera a lot of the time and kind of played gaffer a little and, provided a lot of the equipment and things like that. But, yeah, so much fun. Such a good experience we had.
How do you not have a good experience with this one over here?
Well, everybody was like that. That was so. Everybody involved in this was like, best personalities. The camera stopped rolling. People were dancing and just singing, and it was so much fun.
Kind of offset the kind of darkness of the film.
I think that's what. Seriously,
Yeah.
I think it was. It had to have a. There's so many times the camera stopped rolling and people were either in tears or close to it, and there's just a weight in the room, and I think it was literally just to break that. But yeah, such good personalities and good people. So.
Awesome. Well, we have a clip of the film, so let's take a look at that, and then we'll talk some more. Did you make that just for us?
Yes. Idea to promote the screenings.
I know you did great. I was like,
Thank
nobody
you.
does that.
I want people to show up.
We don't even talk about it.
Yeah.
We know when the screenings are. We know where we're going.
All right, that's it.
We're done. That's awesome.
Thank
I think yesterday we talked a little bit about like the timeline, and you had said something, and it really like made me think about it too, because when timelines happen in history, we really don't think about. We look at something and we say, oh, how did that happen? We always like, how did that happen? And then the signs were like always there, but we never really added up because I guess we're not trained psychologically to look at things like that. So how, like in doing this film, did it make you look at things a little bit differently? Did it make you see signs that something was about to happen or occur? Because they also say that history repeats itself.
Mm-hmm.
So, what did you find in putting this film together?
Well, as it was being made, because the documentary that he's making within the film is actually a real documentary that I had made during COVID. So there's a lot of kind of like semi-autobiographical stuff in here. And the thing that I learned by basically coming up with an idea to incorporate that documentary into a narrative was that, like you said, you don't always know what history is happening in terms of external events that have nothing to do with you. But in this movie, he's actually learning more about his history and seeing like what happened to him. So it like goes both ways. We can be so focused on the external world but not realize what's happening in our own lives. And it's kind of interesting to see that they're kind of interchangeable. And you shouldn't be really focused on external events and more focused on what's going on in your own life.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. How has this helped you in your life?
It's very cathartic because like it essentially the character in the movie, I would say everyone's told me it's me and I'm like, it's not me, it's him. It's
him.
It's me if the worst things imaginable in a personal life could happen to me, because I have a great marriage, I have a daughter, and like everything's going great, but I was like, what would I do if A, B, or C happened? And so it's an interesting thing to kind of like put yourself into a story, because I think that's what you have to do as a filmmaker is, the best stories, like Quentin Tarantino isn't doing all the things in his movies, but I would bet that he identifies with one or more of the characters in all of his films. There's an avatar for him, or any writer, any good writer. So, yeah, I learned a lot about myself because we've had a screening before where people really had a very strong reaction to it, and so I think a lot of people will relate to it the same way I did.
I think that's really interesting because you know what, we learn about ourselves but we evolve, right? So you have a young family and your marriage, like you just said, but we think we could anticipate what's going to happen if we were in certain situations, and sometimes it's not even like that. Like it's really hard to project how you would react in some particular way, and you really don't, like, that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
So I just find like life is interesting in that way. And then as you evolve over time, there's some wisdom that comes in there. Don't ask me how that all happens, but it does. I think Oprah said this a long time ago. I remember watching an interview. I think when she turned 50, she said, I had my first aha moment. Now I get it, right? And so I kept waiting, like, when is that aha moment happening? Happened a little bit later than that. I think I'm still, like, in my 20s.
And I think, you could talk, sometimes there is no aha moment, and that's kind of something also that the movie deals with is like reality on reality's terms. It's like you're not always going to get answers. I don't know what you related to and like wanting to work on it, but I feel like there was
I don't want to get too involved with it, but to be honest, and I was saying this last night, I think the thing that was most impactful for me was the fact that I was around from sort of the conception of it, and I didn't necessarily I knew you the whole time, and I watched it go from documentary, watched you through COVID, I watched your thought process, we talked about it a lot, and so I just got to see all of that and then see the script, and so I think I have a little bit of a different view on it, and I can really see, that's why I see so much of you in the character, because it is your story. It's an embellished story, but I think it is a personal thing, and I think I had to do it. As soon as we started talking about it, I was like, this is amazing.
Thank you.
It's a masterpiece. And not because I did anything with it. It's amazing.
But Josh, somehow, I didn't get to see the film, so I'm sort of shooting from the hip here, but does it become your experience as well?
Yeah, I think so. I was late to the party, I feel like, because this is writer, director, and part of the whole thing was, and I think you said this before, but you wanted to see if you could do it. And I mean, you can talk about that if you want, but I think it was almost a challenge to yourself to see, like, can I do all these things, you know? And and I think some of the best things that could have happened because you did it.
Well, thank you. That's true, because I've had so many projects in the past, narrative projects, where it's like you have no money and you're sometimes trying to rely on the creative advice of people who aren't as invested as you are in making something, because it's not their project. And I just decided late in 2022, like, I said, I wonder if I could do a very direct film, a feature, where I produce everything. I have complete control over the direction of where it's going, and I do the music for it. And because I just want to see for myself, if I'm able to do that and it turns out great, I know I can do it. If it turns out bad, then I know it's my fault. And I've been lucky to make documentaries like with Chicago and stuff, where it's like a built-in audience and people are in general going to like it kind of regardless of what you do. And so in my head is like, I want to make something with the help of a very few people. I mean, we had like 3 to 5 people on set. That's it. And we made a movie in 8 days, and now we're here in Sedona, and it's like a very personal thing to me because of Now More Than Ever that was here 8 years ago. And so it's like, this is the first movie in our festival run, or first festival in our movie, for our movie. And so we're just really excited to be here and show the movie for the first time, really.
How is that making you feel? Because last night you showed Chicago live, right? So that was like all the hoopla, and we've seen your work before, so like we already know like the accolades and all that go with it, right?
Yeah.
And now this is something very personal that you're bringing to the film festival, and the reaction is more personal because it's you. So how how are you dealing with all of that?
I feel very emotional. Like, I'm having to like kind of like stop myself right now from crying. I feel like Lee last night, where he was crying and talking about his, you know, career and everything. And so it's like, I'm very excited. Yeah.
Well, it's very emotional. It's very emotional. And so thank you for like bringing your work to our film festival. And thank you for supporting. I mean, throughout the year, you've like, you know, been here, no festival, you just come and support Patrick and Mary D. Fisher Theater and your films. And so thank you very much for being here. And so I know you put on the trailer, so just in case people forget what that said, when is your film being shown?
Today, in a couple hours at 1 o'clock at the Mary D. Fisher Theater, and then on Friday at 4:10, same place.
Awesome. All right. So you make sure that you're out there to see that. And Josh, thank you for being here, and thank you for your input on the film. So yeah, it's really cool.
Thanks.
It's good to have you here.
Thank you very much.
All right. And then if people wanted to find out about it, is there a website or anything?
Yeah, if you could just go to YouTube and just search Man Goes on Rant trailer, you'll see a bunch of clips and audio, and Instagram there's a Man Goes on Rant
Okay.
page too. It's just at Man Goes on Rant.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I can't wait to hear.
Man Goes on Rant.
All right.
We had a lot of people who thought it was mangoes in the last couple days. They're
It's
like,
not
oh,
mango.
it's a mango film? No,
Man Goes on
Rant.
Rant.
Yeah.
All right, and I'll bring my box of tissues to the theater just in case.
Thank you.
Well, thank you both, and be sure to follow us on Facebook Live and hashtag it's SIFF30 in celebration of our 30th anniversary. And we'll be back with more from the Sedona International Film Festival.